Welcome to Maker Conversations. I'm your host, Tiff Marchand from NIGHTCARVER Designs. And today on the show, I have Adam from Lazy Guy DIY. And Adam is somebody who I find to be very inspirational. He has helped pave the way for makers like me to find careers managing social media accounts for brands and moving on to different avenues of ways to make money in this field. So I'm excited to sit down with him, chat with him about all that he has learned over these years and really get to know him more. So I hope you all enjoy the show. A huge thank you to the sponsor of the show, Saburrtooth Power Carving. If you want to buy some burrs, you can use NIGHTCARVER10 in all caps to save 10%. All right, I hope you enjoy the show. And if you're coming to Workbench Con and you haven't gotten a ticket yet, there's only a few days left. So if you still need one, you can use NIGHTCARVER to save $50 on your ticket. All right, enjoy the show.
Ooh, I like the background.
Good. Thank you. This is a... Have I told you what my situation is, where we live and everything?
I know you just moved into a house that you don't have a shop. I'm guessing it's smaller than the other house as well then too?
So we sold our house in the city, moved in with our in-laws September of last year.
Okay.
I'm in my wife's childhood bedroom in a dormer.
Oh my.
And so, but like we've been trying to buy a house and there's just been nothing. I mean, we sold our house immediately. So like,
Yeah.
and did like, it went really well. But we put our kids in a school district that we wanted them in. Like they're country schools. We love it.
Nice.
As opposed to like scary city schools where we were before. And so then, like the kids are in school now and we still have not been able to buy a house. So now at this point, we're just going to build one, like literally in the backyard of my in-laws property. And so
That is so crazy. My husband works in insurance and he's just like, he can't believe the housing market is still how it is. And he sees day to day, like people going through the things that they're going through and like people not wanting to insure certain houses. Like just getting insurance right now has gotten crazy too. So there's just so many things that have trickled down from like COVID and how the economy has changed that is just absolutely ridiculous.
Well, there's not even any inventory here. So like the only thing that's available, like we'll see maybe 4 houses in several months that come up. And that's any sort of budget. So It's just, there's nothing. So we're just going to build. So yes, that's my situation, is that we've been living with our in-laws for over a year.
Crazy.
And that's why I have no shop, because I have a little basement area that I can use. But yeah, I have 4 storage units worth of stuff.
You're making it work. You have a very professional background here.
Thanks.
You got the mic and everything. Like, it's impressive. I saw there's like a YouTube
Google
trophy hiding in the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to show that baby off. I know it's so tough. You can't really display it places.
Yeah, like my wife, this is all plants over here too. It's like 3 shelves of like plants, because it's a window, it's in a dormer. So it's like, but yeah, when I set it up here, because the first time, and so I've got the panels here and everywhere else, because it just echoes so bad. And so this made it a little bit better, at least with the sound dampeners.
No, it sounds great. Cool. Well, I was just taking like a quick peek at your page while we were waiting, because I'm like, okay, so what has he been posting then, since he's been without, the area? But you're making it work. You've been on so many other things since then, and your life has been evolving throughout this. Like, I'm sure it's kind of had to make you pivot into like what ways you can bring money into the house. So I know like you've just got a few more roles doing social media and stuff like that for companies, but I kind of want to get into your history, because I don't know it really well. I know like you used to go to like Haven, or did you go to Haven at all? You went to Haven, right? Yeah, you used to go to Haven, and then you talked to Kristen. You guys talked and like Workbench Con, all of that stuff brewed from like you being involved in this world a really long time and cemented yourself in that DIY industry. So that does make sense why you were going to Haven. But yeah, it's a different world, the Haven crowd.
Yeah. Oh,
it's
crazy.
Is.
It's but I mean, they're cutthroat, and we can talk about that more too, but like that's where like you learn how to like get ahead, because like there are so many of them, and there's like, they have to be cutthroat on stuff like strategy wise.
I was
So
so glad, like when I became their social media manager for like that year that I did it, it was a completely different world, right? So like I had to adapt and learn and just kind of just like dive into it.
mhm.
And when I went to Haven, the classes there, the things that these ladies are teaching are top notch. I learned so much from Haven. Like I learned a lot at Workbench Con my first year, but Haven like blew my mind. I told my husband afterwards, I'm like, wow, we just got like so much information.
It's different. I mean, it's
Yeah,
way different. And it's like, I will say that it is not geared towards guys being there. Like there was like
correct. It's not.
there was the PJ Party fashion show one year, and that was the year where I told Kristen, I was like, not my thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, and that's where the Workbench Con stuff came from. So
No, I love that. That's like you had enough nerve to share that with somebody. Like, hey, this is not like really comfortable
yeah,
here. It's not open, and then you like that stemmed up a whole new idea. So
yep.
pretty rad. So I know that part of your history, but like, what got you into like content creation and sharing? Like, I'm guessing you must have had an older home that you just started like working on, and like, how did
Yeah,
that
so
get into that?
so the the funny thing about it is that I just flipped houses with my dad, and then we just took chainsaws inside of houses. That's where I learned tools and basically everything else. When I was in college, I took a weird path um, of art with my girlfriend at the time,
Cool.
and then I did studio art. I did industrial design. I started designing my own furniture then in college.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, and it went well. And then I didn't do anything with it for like 6, 7 years. And then my wife's like, build a chicken coop. And I said, okay, I'm going to build a chicken coop. I'm going to document it. I put it on some chicken coop website. That was like 2014. And then it got a lot of traction. I'm like, all right, I'm going to start a website. And then and I was going to be a pallet, like a pallet maker. Like, like you just
Mm-hmm.
tear everything down, you make cheap crafts. And then I realized that, and I was like, oh, people are interested in this, and we'll do a little bit more. And so that's sort of where it went. So,
That's
and
so
then it went
cool.
Home Depot, and then Ryobi, actually Haven Ryobi was where that came from, because I sat next to the right person at the right time. I'm 6'5". I stood
Stand
out,
out, yeah.
and they said, oh, we'd like to work with you. And that just kicked it all off.
That's so cool. And that was at Haven, you said?
Yeah, that was a Haven.
Yeah. The things like I think people think sometimes like it could be fairy tale talk that we say like if you go to these events, like your life could change.
Yeah.
Like it may not. It may not. You might get inspired and stuff, but
Yep.
some random thing like that could happen to you where you're like just that right place, right time, and you have a good conversation and
I mean,
boom.
it was a big deal. I mean, that's a big investment, even back then, price wise. Like it, it was a bunch of money. I drove down because I didn't want to spend the money to fly
Hmm.
down. I wasn't making any money at that point. I'd only had the website for maybe 3 months at that point. I just started Instagram, and I just done the Makers Challenge. That's like the only content that I
Wow.
had on there. And so yeah, that just basically pushed it all off forward. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. My wife's like, okay, take a few days. I mean, mm, yeah, you got to go to have something happen. So.
That's cool. So wait, you had a maker's challenge that started all the way from the very beginning? Because I don't know the history of it all.
So I actually participated in that the first year. Rachel had set it up. It was
Oh, okay.
yeah, it may have been like 10 different women makers that she had pulled it together with. They got Anna White involved. They did it. I randomly saw it on Instagram. I was like, I'm going to do this. And I did a media console for it. I thought I should have won, but I didn't. And then I think maybe a season or two afterwards, Rachel asked if I wanted to be involved with it. I did. It was a much different looking team. And then I realized that it was a business and not just a online community thing. And so she and I talked about it. She brought me on as a partner. And I mean, that's 2017, 2018, maybe that happened. And so she and I have been
Wow.
running that together ever since.
That's crazy. I had no idea like the history of it and how long it's been going.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy how an idea can start off as just like a fun thing and then turn into
Yeah.
a business too. Like that's another thing, just like investing in those avenues that you can see. Like well, what if we brought this on, and what if we did this, and we can work with sponsors, like, you
Yeah.
know.
She and I joked about it, is that so she had the idea, she gotten it going, and then I weaponized it.
I like that.
Yeah.
Bringing on the right person is so important, like,
Yep.
in your ventures. Or not, like, or just doing
Yeah.
it your own. Like, sometimes the best way is to go solo. But that's
Yeah.
cool that
I
you
mean,
found a nice
and
partnership like that.
yep. So, and hopefully it's going to continue to roll. There's been a lot of adapting with that too. That's had to happen as things have changed, and as you've seen with stuff too. So, like it's a weird market with people, what they want to do, when they want to participate. Any little thing can set people off that they don't want to do stuff, socially, like politically, like all kinds of things. They affect all of it.
No, I know. I like, I'm really open if you don't mind. Like, I was like, damn, we're doing a contest in December, right near Christmas, while a war is happening, that we're all just like fucking
Mhm.
torn up. And then I'm like, let's inspire people to take on more in their life.
Yep.
It's tough. Yeah. And depending on your seasons, yeah, it absolutely can throw off something. You know, power carving challenges in general are really tough to get people involved in because there's a fear, you
Yep.
know, there's a big fear level that people have to get over, especially if they're going to try to go three-dimensional for their very
Yeah.
first time.
Yep.
So I like it though, because we've had a good variety of people start it, and then you start
Mhm.
seeing the stuff they make afterwards, and then you're like,
Yep.
yeah. Like, that's the whole nice thing about, I'm like, sure you see it all the time with your
Mhm.
challenges. Like, they weren't doing it at all, and then all of a sudden they've become like a
Yeah.
perfectionist at this thing. Or yeah,
By the
so
way,
cool.
your donut, amazing.
Thank you.
And Kendra's little Christmas tree, like we had one of those growing up, and I know my wife's family did too. So it's so awesome to see like those things like break out and go, and
Yes.
just what you can do. Like I wouldn't even have thought either one of those, just like you said, three-dimensionally, like pull those together, of like recreating it with wood. I mean, both yours and hers are amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I I actually just hung it up over here, because it was supposed to be going in the shop, and then I was
Mhm.
like, I go to my
This is too
husband and I'm
cool.
like,
Yeah.
I was like, I can't put that in the shop. I'll end up breaking it.
Yep.
Like, I'm just gonna mess it up. So now it's like it's in the office safely, but
Mhm.
I put it on the wall, and now it just looks, everything else looks like not garbage, but I have been saying it looks like
Yeah.
trash. But everything else looks like so not like, that thing is just so superior that everything else
Yeah.
just kind of is just like, eh.
No, that's
So
awesome.
it's like, oh, okay, I can make stuff like that. I gotta
Yep.
make more stuff like that. Yeah, these challenges, like Saburrtooth and I did two other ones, and
Mhm.
they have just been pushing me this year. Like, I'm like, I'm a three-dimensional artist now. I can't
Yeah.
stop. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
No,
It's
that's
like,
good.
it's too fun.
Oh, I mean, Maker's Challenge, same thing with me. Is it's like in this year, I obviously haven't had the ability to jump into these challenges,
Mhm.
just limitations of space. But like, um, yeah, I mean, some of my best stuff I've made has been through the challenges, because I have a reason to get out there. It pushes me to do it, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's more fun.
And you go for it. Like, cause it's
Mhm.
different than when you're making something that you're fulfilling an order for somebody. Like,
Mhm.
this is gonna be like, maybe yes, you could sell it later, but this is
Mhm.
gonna be yours later. So it's like,
Yep.
ooh, I'm putting everything I have into this because I want it to be really cool for me.
That's like the desk that I'm sitting at right now. It's the maple and walnut desk that I built last year. And I mean, every technique I've ever learned, I put into
You
this
put it in
thing.
that,
So,
yeah,
mhm.
because you can, because you're not trying to charge somebody for that later.
Yep, exactly.
It's like, all right, because I was talking to Jody at Sabertooth, and she's like, so how many hours have you put into it? And I'm like, I don't even want to tell you how long the sprinkles took. I did a mistake by how I did them. And I'm like, that cost like a whole day, just sprinkles. I'm like, so just
Yep.
imagine what I put into this.
Uh,
It's just so funny. So how did you get into like working with brands? Like, how did that develop for you?
so it all spawns from Haven, basically, where that first initial Ryobi meeting, talked to them. They said, we want to set you up with a full suite of tools. And then I got home, and this is where wall control comes into it as well.
I
Is
figured they
that,
have to
yep,
be
because
early in your story.
So I came home. I went into my creepy little garage that I had, single car detached garage that was full of rats and everything else, and it had mushy pegboard. And the tools that I had purchased at that point had fallen off of the pegboard and like onto the workbench. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, "There's got to be a better solution for this." And I was like, "I wonder if they make metal pegboards." And I searched. I found 3 different companies that made stuff. I reached out to them, Wall Control being one of them. And I was like, "Oh, they're in Atlanta. I was just in Atlanta. This is a good fit." And then like Richard emails back, and this is my joke all the time with Richard, is that he sounds like a 70-year-old old guy responding, like sitting in the back room, has like this is all he does is responds to emails.
Hello, Adam. Thank you so
Yeah,
much for your email.
he's so nice, and it is not aged to what he is. And so then I said, "Hey, I've this is my plan. I've got these tools. I want to display them. I'm going to do a channel." And I did a mock-up and SketchUp too. And I said, "Okay, this is what it's going to look like. I imagine your products in here." And he was like, "Nope, we don't work with anybody. This isn't going to work." They had actually worked with the Shanty sisters, Shanty the Chic,
Okay.
and that was the first people that they ever worked with, and they sent stuff out to him, and the relationships was great through the years before and after that. But that was it. They didn't work with anybody else. And he's like, "Yeah, you got a new channel? I don't really know." And so I just kept talking to him and just about different things, because just, I mean, it's that rapport.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, "Yeah, well, let's just send you this. Here's this, pick this out and let's go." And so then I had that. I had set up, had my backdrop. Um, Ryobi opened doors after that. But then, so you want to jump deep dive into Wall Control, is that I kept telling him, "Why don't you have Instagram? Like, what's wrong here?" And
Yeah.
then it was a year of talking to him, just sort of like he's watched me grow and whatnot. And actually, it was, I don't think it was the first Workbench Con. It may have been the second one. He and I met for the first time, and I was like, "Oh my God, you're not an old guy. You're you're the
You're
same.
this
You're
young,
actually,
handsome
yeah,
dude.
you're younger than I am." And then we went out to lunch and we talked the whole social media thing. Like he's like, "Here's the keys to the kingdom." Here's, because I took over the Wall Control account, and there was one post from 6 years before, and there was nothing else. There was no tags, there was no nothing. And he's like, "It's yours. Do what you want with it."
That's awesome.
Ambassadors, affiliates, whatever. He's like, "Go ahead. We trust you with this." And that obviously has opened up the doors with different things, with working with different brands. But um, Ryobi was the biggest one, because that opened the door to Home Depot. Because as a ambassador with Ryobi, Home Depot said, "Okay, we want to get some of these people in testing." And that's when I did the prospective program. And I mean, you want to talk about the quickest way to like load up your shop, is you're getting 8 to 10 tools every few months,
Oh,
and
wow.
with every brand. And it was, I mean, I would review maybe 30, 40 tools in a year. And I mean, you talk
That's
about content loading
crazy.
up your site. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was tough to keep up with. And there's a certain way to do it so people feel like you're legitimate, and you had to kind of find that. I did a hammer test one time, and it is the worst video I've ever made. The sound is bad, but then that one got 100,000 views immediately, because it was a premium framing hammer shootout. And I had to turn comments off because it was so bad.
Ooh,
Uh,
wow. You
and
should
people just,
repost it.
I know it's still up there, but people just wreck me on it. They don't like how I swing a hammer. They don't like, and like I didn't even realize at that point that anything was wrong with what I was doing. But like, but at that point I could reach out. I mean, I got in. That's the other thing too. So like, I reached out to Stiletto, and I said, "Hey, I'd like some Stiletto hammers for this. Here's my channel." I reached out to like Vaughn and whoever, Martinez. I didn't get Martinez ones. I would have wished that I would have gotten those. But yeah, I did like 8 hammers. Hardcore Hammers was another one, and they all sent stuff. And I mean, they got, I pushed affiliate sales and everything else through there, but like, it's not a great video. It gets seen a lot, but at this point, I don't care, because it's, you get viewership on it. Continue to interact with me,
Exactly.
continue to hate me, and it took me a while to get used to that. When like you get those bad comments about stuff, but who cares?
I've,
Like,
after hearing everybody's stories with all their comments that they get and stuff and how they react to it, it's just kind of desensitized me to them if I do get them, because I've
Yeah.
just lived through everybody else's before they come to me. Like, some of them, like, they do. They're like, whoa.
Yeah.
But literally the other day, I was just having fun being a dick to some guy on TikTok that was, criticizing me because I called my sprinkles hand carved. And I'm like, I did hand carve them. He's
Yeah.
like, you used the power tool. I'm like, with my hands, sir. I'm like,
Yeah.
what are you using? A chisel with your hands. It's still a tool. Like, I was like, oh my God, there's like the dumbest debate, but yes.
So it's really funny with that too, is like, so everybody sort of has their crew of their people that they like, their makers that they hang out with. Mine
Mm-hmm.
is so like Matt from Keddy Woodshop, he's at Polytech with me, so he's not doing as much as the maker front.
Gotcha.
Sam from DIY Huntress, Tamar from 3x3 Custom, and then Alicia from Pneumatic Attic. Like we were all coming up together around the same time and with different experiences. But Matt and I, being men in the industry, and then seeing how women were being received from the other three, I mean, it was eye-opening of stuff. Like you don't know until you know,
Mm-hmm.
and you can do the exact same thing and then not even realize like how bad it can absolutely be. And Tamar is the funniest case of anything, because Tamar is so super talented with everything,
So, yes.
and every single thing she does is question that her husband does it for her. And like I've met her husband, I've gone to her house, her shop and stuff, and like her husband didn't know what this was, and like he's like, I don't even come in here and stuff. Like there is no chance that her husband is doing stuff for her, and it's gonna be so frustrating. uh
To have that stuff questioned. Yeah.
it's insane. So, but I mean, I think that
Luckily,
that's
I don't get those comments, but I totally know people who do, for sure.
it's it's just it's weird sort of. And I think that that's sort of rounded out sort of how I view things also as a brand,
Mm-hmm.
because I represent so many brands of like what it looks like to deal with different people and stuff. So
Yeah. No, that I love that too, that we can share those things too about being brand reps and being makers,
mhm.
because there's a small group of us, but there's a good handful of us that are out there doing that. And I hear from people so many times of how they like will go to an event and they're upset they didn't get a brand deal that first time. And I'm like, well, did you talk to the rep? Like, did you introduce yourself? Did you share story? Did you do
Mhm.
research? Like,
Mhm.
these kind of things are so important. And like with Workbench coming up, do you mind talking a little bit about like the things that, make a difference to you when somebody comes up to you and they're trying to work with you?
Yeah. So I mean, what, and I've actually taught a class on this at Workbench Con too, like how to work with
Actually
brands.
approach brands.
Yeah, because there is such a bad way to do it. Like there's a sense of entitlement that was out
Mm-hmm.
there for a long time. I haven't seen it as much anymore. It really depends on which industry. I think the maker and woodworking industry has got much better about it, but it's I have this, I have this account, you owe me this. And the biggest joke, and I had it in the slide of a Kanye quote of like, there's 1,000 of yous and there's only one of me, because everybody
Mm-hmm.
has a unique thing they can do, but there's only so many brands. And like, if you come in hot and you come in with an attitude, you can be replaced. Like, no matter who you think you are, there's always another person looking to step up and to have those tools and everything, or like the support. Like, you just have to, you have to be sort of humble with these things. That's what I want to see. You have to be passionate about a brand. You can't just say, and spammy emails. Like if you don't put any effort into reaching out to a company, like those are going right away. Now, you know that
Mm-hmm.
as well. Like it
Oh
looks
yeah.
like if you copy and paste it, like come to the table with like a love of the product, an application of the product. Like this is what I want to use it for. Like I did with wall control. I mocked up in SketchUp like how I wanted to use it, and it was no brainer after that. Like anytime that somebody is prepared, like with wall control, like when we get a really good one, Richard and I are like, oh yeah, like this
Let's do
person
it.
gets it. Yeah, like let's like we have rules. Like this person's prepared. Let's go for it. And like, and granted, you can't. It's hard to build those relationships with a brand, because there are so many makers now that reach out and look for stuff.
Yes.
and the existing ones are really good. Like we speak to those people, but it's hard to start those new ones because there's just not a bandwidth with the brands to speak to everyone on that same level, which is why the in-person events are so good, because then you get to know them, you put a face and a name. It's not just an email. But I mean, that's really valuable. But yeah, like that, if you can tell me how you're going to use the product, how you're going to promote it, and it's not a well, I have X amount of views on this and I'm going to put on this channel, on this channel, this channel, but like sell
And
it.
what the creative story. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, exactly. I pitched to Carhartt to send me some clothes for a video
Hmm.
I shot recently. I lay it all out. I tell her exactly what I need,
Hmm.
what my vision is, how I'm gonna film it, when it'll probably be aired, like an estimate. I never give like
Yeah.
a time or
Yeah.
whatever. But like, you know what I mean? And then she was just like, cool idea, let's do it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you come in the right way and like a fun, different way to showcase the item, or you have this really cool project that you're working on. Like those are the things that we want to hear. Like you said, we don't want to hear how many followers you have.
No, I
Sadly,
can see that. Yeah.
everybody's got 100,000 followers now. Like that's nothing. Like
Well,
who are you?
yeah, and so that's a funny thing that I see with all the brands that I work with is that so I came from a housing market before all this. Like I
Okay.
worked in mortgages and worked at a bank for years. And so there's a whole thing of like your houses were devalued when the whole bubble burst,
Hmm.
because everything was inflated. It was sort of unearned. And that's how I sort of look at like Instagram or whatever right now, is that you hit a reel, it gives you however many thousands of people. And if I see an account that has less than 100 posts and
Hmm.
150,000 followers, I'm sorry, you haven't been around for a year. How do I know? You have to really sell it to me at that point. Not necessarily you need to take your licks, but you need to show that you're committed to this, that you're going to be a good representative of the brand. And there's always been that you have to sort of earn it to show, even if you have like like 5,000 followers, and this is like, we could dive into this forever. Like there's people that have been around for years that have amazing accounts and it just hasn't clicked. And
Hmm.
you're better off to have a new account hit a reel that just absolutely pops off, and then you have 100,000 followers, essentially not necessarily unearned, but sort of unearned at that point. um, but I would rather work with that person that has 5,000 followers and has been posting 2,000 times in the last couple of years,
Yep.
and I know what I'm getting, than having that one that just, yeah, okay. And that's where the entitlement comes back in too, is that, okay, you have 150,000 followers, which was a number that was unattainable in the
Oh,
past.
yes, that was fantasy numbers.
And then all of a sudden now you can get it without much work. And then it's like, okay, I have 150,000 followers. You pay me like 8 grand for a story. And I've seen it where people say, if you want a
Woo.
story of my product,
Yeah.
give me product and also pay me 8 grand for a story. And it's like, no, like, go kick
Mm-mm.
rocks. Not
Yeah.
happening.
That's yeah, yeah. I don't want to dive into it too badly, but yeah, no, I totally get that. There's people that come in really hot and heavy and stuff, and they have zero experience in that field too.
Mhm.
And especially like when it comes to power carving, like
Mhm.
that's it. I always say it's an intense sport to
Yep.
people because I'm like, it's physical.
Mhm.
This is not just like you're sitting on a CNC and you're pressing a button, which
Yep.
I do. This is your whole body is going to get involved in this. And how are you going to be able to handle this? Are you going to be able to
Yeah.
do it long time? Can you actually make your vision come alive? And how are you going to share that adventure? Like
Yep.
that's kind of things I look at. Cause yeah, if I do hit someone's page and they have like 54 posts and a lot of followers, I'll watch it. Like maybe
Mhm.
there are just that like
Yeah.
anomaly that they are outstanding. Then they're totally, yes, yes, you're getting this. You're so cool. But yeah, you go on there and then you see like just something hit 5 million posts and then
Mhm.
they got like, 100,000 overnight.
Yep.
I don't trust that you're going to be consistent with your posting. I don't trust that you're going to tell a good story.
Yep.
Like I value, like you said, that person who has those low following numbers that have been there sticking it out and
Mhm.
consistently being there. That's who I want to work with too. I think
So
being makers, you see that because we watch,
yeah.
like you said, we've been going at this for a long time and you watch people as they are going and you learn what works. And then you see the newbies that are coming in
Mhm.
thinking that they're just going to hop into what we've been working on
Yeah.
for so long. so long.
Well, and I'm in a position now with the brands that I work with and the connections that I have that I like to see people that I think are going to be up and coming. And then I like to reach out to them and say, hey, I want to set you up with such and such stuff. Cause like a few products here and there, a few things make a huge difference to somebody in a little cross promotion, just so it takes them to the next level. And that's I mean, it seems silly to say to give back. But that's one of the things that I had help from people Brad Rodriguez did a follow Friday for me years ago.
Yeah.
And it bumped me up follower wise. And so it made a big deal with help from there. And he said nice things about me. And that made a big difference. And so I hate saying it's a give back thing. It's not a charity thing at all, but
no.
I like to see people that need that extra bump to move up. I mean, you want a perfect example of that. Leah from Parker Place.
Love her.
She is amazing. And then I've seen what she's done in Maker's Challenge, and I reached out to her. I said, hey, I want to set you up with these brands that I work with. I want to get you these sort of things to help you out there. And she's going to continue to blow up. Her talent's amazing. And sometimes you need that extra little push. And so I love helping out who I can with that. And that doesn't mean I want everybody coming to me saying I need all the different stuff.
It's fun to tap into people.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, you approached her. That's the real fun part about it is you get to watch talent and then you get to approach them. Because yes, I don't want everyone coming to me either. I do take that disclaimer. I love you all. Thank you for listening. Please don't come approach me unless you've got a good idea.
And it's my strategy of stuff is in the industry has been sort of weird, and I'm starting to see more people adapt to it as well. But I knew that there was going to be an expiration date on me as a maker. I want to continue to make stuff and do stuff.
Yeah.
But I came into a weird time where, and it was the Haven group and sort of the mommy blogger group, for a better description, where the old guard was starting to age out and they didn't know what to do or what their next step was. They still wanted to appeal to the younger audience, but it was sort of that awkward space of what do you do?
Yeah, that's interesting.
And so I knew that there was going to be a final moment of stuff. And so that sort of shaped how I've done everything and how I've diversified everything of could I just do everything on Lazy Guy DIY? Yeah. But to me, the longevity is being in the industry, with Home Depot, with Wall Control, with Mullet, with Hang Time, now with Stone Coat. We can talk about that more if you want to.
I know that's your new venture.
Yeah, so with the TV show too. Oh man, we didn't even talk about that with Maker's Challenge Central.
Exactly. That's why that's why I didn't want to spend too much time just talking about what we look for at pitches, but I did want to touch on it a little bit because I think people, they need to know that information. I want to share with them so that they can be better at pitching their ideas. Yeah. I love, I swear to God, one day I'm going to have my own brand pitching company, and I'll just come to me and I'll watch your profile and I'll pitch an idea for you, because I feel like I can see it in how people should approach different things. And so I love touching on that. But yeah, I want to know, I know you have all these other brands that you've gone into, including Hang Time and all of that. How did that all start to diversify for you? So you started with Wall Control, and then what made you want to take on more?
So it's a diversifying revenue was the biggest thing so it started with Lazy Guy DIY, knowing that there was a future in this and trying to position myself so I could leave my corporate job, and saw pretty quickly that this was a viable avenue, but also keeping up with the grind of constantly having to have the time, especially when you have kids and having free time. I knew that I needed to sort of transition a lot of stuff so I could work from a computer when there's a kid doing such and such, or if I had to do that. And so running social media was the next step. Richard helped me move me along with that with Wall Control. And so Hang Time was a group that they partnered with, that they wanted to start the same thing, sort of push it. Jim Pegboard's a new one with them that's through Wall Control. So that family sort of stays in there. Mullet was one that happened organically through that, where I sort of saw the product. And then they were looking for somebody to sort of put something out there. They reached out to me through it was actually a Wall Control ambassador had set us up
Oh,
and
okay.
said, hey, maybe Adam would do this for you. And so that came out with that. And that's been amazing because it's a different product, which is more exciting. It was a new, they were new to the industry. So you get another blank slate sort of thing. And so, and it's been, the nice thing is that the practices you do in one space, you can spread those across the board. You can test things in certain areas and then bring them back over. You can utilize the same people because it's the same industry. And Stone Coat's a little bit different, but like I've had, I don't know, probably 20 or 30 different brands reach out to me through the years that want me to do the same thing with social media for them. And like, I'll sit down, I'll talk to them. I'll look to see what is there a community that we can build around the product? And there's some products that just didn't make sense to build a community around. Like you have to get people that are going to proactively create content for you. And if they're posting and tagging, and then you reshare, you create the community around that. And some products, just that excitement isn't there. It may be a great product, but like, if you are going to spend the time to try to post content, and you know this through Saburrtooth, it's a grind if you have to do it all yourself. Like how do you maintain your other side of stuff if you have to create original content for that company as well?
I was doing 4 videos a month for them for the last year, and it was exhausting. We're switching gears for January, where I'm going to be doing one YouTube video for them a month. Because I feel like Night Carver has shrunk to such a small thing, and it's just like a conduit for the other companies. And I'm like, no, this is supposed to be me.
Yeah.
Like, at least with Saburrtooth, it just inspires me to make nicer art.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like a bad thing, but also it does take up a lot of my time. Like my days were like, okay, I've got to record that video. I've got to source the materials for that video. I've got to edit it all, like, and then like it's on my mind the whole time. I can't think of anything else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was actually just talking to Sam from Uncharted Customs. I don't know if you know Sam, but he does the same thing that we do, where he represents other companies and he's creating fresh content for them. And he's also reposting content for them. And we both noticed, and he reached out to me, that the repost app that we use stopped working 3 days ago. And it's been on my mind. And I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to repost these videos? Oh my God, I got to figure it out. But I've had a stockpile. So it wasn't really like a big concern, except for this morning when I tried to repost one of Leah's, and I was like, oh no, I want to repost this for the challenge. I'm like, but these are like the things that can cripple us. So he found another app that we can use, but of course it's double the price now that we were paying already. A little bit more than double, actually.
But you have to build that into your cost at that point. That's what I figured out too, is like, oh, the free one, this is great. And the first time that happened to me, where I could not put content out there, it's like, well, what do I do? But I mean, that's built into my cost.
It went from $5 a month. Now it's going to cost $12 a month just for the app.
I think I'm $4 a week is what's the one that I'm using right now.
Oh, see, mine was $5 a month. It was glorious. But so you were paying even more. So now the one that we're going to be using is $12 a month. And those little costs, those all add in. Like, I have so many programs and so much stuff that I do. I know when people think like we're crazy, it's like, no, because I have all these programs that make things fast. Like, that's the only reason I could do that. Like, for Workbench Con, like they have like the Canva Plus and stuff. So I get I have that. So that's really nice. I can utilize all of that. So those little programs will help so much to get through your day. If without them, so when you are switching, if somebody's interested in like becoming a content creator for or social media director for another brand, just know there's even more cost involved than you're used to. So just prepare for those things.
Well, and people reach out to me all the time because there's more and more of like us that are doing this for companies. It makes sense, but like the expectation, I always talk about the expectation of like, what do they think that you're going to do? What are you going to create? How often are you posting? Because so like Wall Control, I'll post every weekday. It's Monday through Friday. Occasionally we'll grab some other stuff. I'm also customer service. So every DM that comes in, I am customer service on there. And so that all rolls up differently. So for the other brands, it's not so much. Maybe it's 2 to 3 posts a week total. And then there'll be a file where I pull stuff from. but like, and customer service gets routed to a different route or something. But yeah, that all has to be figured in because there is time associated with all of that. So,
Yes.
and I have maxed out the number of accounts that I can sign into on my Instagram as well. So that makes a big difference of
How many does that let you?
I think it's 8 or 9.
Okay. I think I have 8 on mine. That's why I'm
Yeah.
curious. I'm like, oh no, is it me no more? No
Yeah.
mas, Tiffany.
Well, and I mean, and I have other ventures too that are outside the maker community. So I have other websites that are completely unrelated that I put content on out there, and they have social media channels and stuff. And I don't publicly put them out there, but the practices that I was doing in some places hold over there, and I can just roll in affiliate income from these little reviews and products that are out there. So
that's cool. That's smart. But yeah, there is limits to what we can do, sadly. Which that's like, then you have to be like, well, what job is going to be better for me?
Yep.
How should I do this? Like, there's a lot of different things that you have to weigh. Yeah, I was doing an insane amount. I'm kind of glad that we're shifting a little bit in January to what I was doing, because it was 2 posts a day and 10 stories a day, every day. No breaks.
You can't do it. I mean, that's the same thing if you're a content creator doing a website. I mean, website people have devalued what a blog is. A blog is still, in my opinion, blog and YouTube are the most important things because it's evergreen. You can search it anywhere. It's always out there.
You learned that all at Haven, people.
I did. No,
no,
I mean,
I know you do. I did too.
Like, and that's what going back to people with like Instagram. I don't do TikTok. I'm not on it. I've never been my thing. It's not political. It's not anything else on there. It just seemed like the value and the effort was not there for me, because what's the return on it? And the same thing with Instagram to an extent as well. Like, Instagram is a necessary evil, but like, your content's gone in 24 to 48 hours. You can't find it. With the hashtag change, you can't search stuff as well as you used to about things. So like, the amount of time and effort that you put into that stuff, it's great for your audiences, but you're not, if you want to focus on something, you want to dedicate time, it's evergreen content. It always will be. It'll be website and YouTube. So
yeah, I know I have to get better at like actually doing something. My website is just, I hate my website. It's so boring. Need to
it's
put
a barrier to
time in
entry.
it. Yes, it's there. It's out there.
But
that's real boring.
That's the thing though, is so social media is so easy. That's why there's so many people that are on it. But like, I mean, the website is difficult to do. You can do like a whatever, like Cheapy Wix, whatever knockoff. But like, if you're going to build a website and maintain a website, it's tough. It's time consuming. And there's a reason why that one is the most profitable, because there are less people doing it. It's an easier sell to a brand because there's more value there for it. Same thing with YouTube if you're doing the long form video, but like, it's tough for people. So they don't do it. They don't want to do it. So if you can go the extra mile to do it, you're gonna reap the rewards from it.
Yeah, it's starting 2024. I'm actually gonna be a YouTuber.
Okay.
Like that is the goal. I'm on there. I have one. I finally hit 1,000. I don't ever advertise it, but I got over 1,000 followers out there. But like, I keep recording for them, and I have all this footage, and I never have time to edit it because I'm always feeding Instagram.
Yep. But that's the thing, is that, so I don't put as much on Instagram because of that. I've been putting more on YouTube Shorts. It's still not a ton, but like, and I had one, so I started my YouTube channel right away and I have a couple, like 100, 200 videos or whatever it's on there. I put so much time and effort into those, and I barely got 10,000 followers after 6 years, 7 years. I put one stupid 13-second video up of a saw stop. I now have 350,000 followers because of it.
Really?
My viewership is, I think I average 15 to 25 to 30 million views a week because of that stupid video.
Wow.
And I will never take it down. And
why would you?
No, and it's made a ton of money over, like, it has lifetime views. I think it's 500 million now, lifetime views on it. And it infuriates me because
you work your ass off on everything else, and that's what works.
And there we go. And now I have my YouTube play button up there because, and it happened it happened less than actually it's been a year ago at this point. So it took 6 years to hit 10 grand. And then it took 1 year to hit 350,000 followers, but it is what it is. I mean,
Yeah. No, I know. When everybody was taking off, and I know I buried my own self. I refused to do any catchy 10-second video or 3-second.
yeah,
I out of my own spite, I'm like, I will just stay here with my, I had
yeah.
11,000 followers at the time. I will stay here with my 11,000 followers, and I will just put out the same quality content that I feel like I
Yep.
put out. You know what I mean? And it was like a very cognitive choice. And now here I am at 12.8. like
It's
2 years later, but whatever. I'm
but
working.
but you're your brand at that point. And I mean, I understand the trend stuff and everything else, and
Mm-hmm.
people are doing like the dances and whatever. Like I am not a rah-rah person corporately. I'm not a rah-rah, like I've got like that's not me who I am, and it would never be my branded stuff. So like all the people, good for them if they enjoy it with like the voiceover, like like the
I
sound
love a good
clips.
voiceover.
Well, the voiceover,
Yes.
my own voiceover is good, but like there's like the clips like that come
Yes.
from stuff, and then there's
Mm-hmm.
a whole, there is so much effort that goes into that stuff, and then it's gone tomorrow. Like you just spent 2-3 hours making sure your timing was right on something, and
Mm-hmm.
you got however many likes, views, whatever. It doesn't do anything for promoting, like it doesn't do anything for promoting like what you do as a maker, in my opinion. And that's a controversial stance, but like if that's
Because it
your
gets
thing,
people
if
to
that's
your
your,
account and then they see you afterwards.
which is fine, but like
Yep.
how many people are, they went there to be entertained? Are you an entertainer? Are you an educator is what it comes down to? Or are you a seller? There's like the three things. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's what people sort of have. You can be all of them. You can do that on there, but like I constantly have this conversation with people when they want advice for stuff and consulting. Like, what is it? What are you hoping to gain? Like, what is the why?
Yeah.
And if you're there for entertainment, go for it. If you're a fun account and you like do that, but like you're subtracting from the other portion at that point. Like the people aren't going to be, they're not there to see your work if you're just doing funny videos the whole time, you know?
Where are you selling with that? Like, and it's hard. I'm a little of all of those things, but the
Mm-hmm.
selling point, I haven't been selling that much because I've been more entertaining and educating
Yep.
lately. And it sucks because like as I was saying, like Night Carver feel like has shrunk over the years. It's because like I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I've lost my way of selling. Like
Yep.
I'm like, I have a full inventory and I don't ever push it because I'm so busy creating content for other things that's like I don't say like, hey, I have stuff. You
But
should
but
buy
you're
this.
but you're instantly gratified by the likes and the
Oh yeah.
comments on those
Mm-hmm.
fun things. But in that, I sort of like I honed in on that pretty early of like what's important to me, and that stuff like that's not important to me. And it's so easy, especially a lot of people that are makers, you're isolated.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them are not, they're not a fan of being out in the public for a lot of stuff. And so all of a sudden somebody says, hey, I like this, hey, this is great, hey, you're funny, like this is nothing that you would be doing out in front of people, whatever. And then so you're getting that response that it's a good thing, and you want to keep feeding
It's
the
a nice
machine.
dopamine hit.
Yeah. And it took a little bit for me to realize that I don't care about that. And it's made me, it's easier for me to focus on other stuff, especially when I was selling things and doing whatever else. It made like it just it is such a hurdle for somebody to get over, of like decide what you want and you go that route. And that like if you were pushing your things that you made more and like back to your core of what it
Mm-hmm.
was, you would not have the engagement that you would on
Exactly.
those,
My
but you
engagement's
would be,
amazing.
but you're
Yeah.
but you're the dollars coming into your bank account of selling these things and your orders and stuff would go back
Mm-hmm.
up. And it's such a hard thing for people to, it's like, yeah, I want to, yeah,
Oh yeah.
it's tough, it's difficult.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, like as we were saying, like you have to decide what you want to. Like this year was like a really big building year for my shop. So
Hmm.
yes, I didn't sell a lot of product. I made some sales and some commissions, but the amount of tools and items for my workshop is
Hmm.
ridiculous. Like brand new Craig tables,
Yep.
Carhartt affiliation, like all these crazy things. And some of them did end up bringing money in. Like I made
Yeah.
a nice campaign with Carhartt at the end of the year. Like I did eventually get some returns off of those, but it was also just like a really nice year of building out my shop, getting the
Hmm.
right tools, the right clamps. And now like next year, I'm like, okay, now I get to like dive into YouTube
Hmm.
and try to make like really good engaging YouTube videos with all my nice new things that
Yep.
I have. Like it's like sometimes you have to spend that time doing that grunt work and
Yep.
doing that work like of just, like you said, taking the tools without asking for the money,
Hmm.
and being grateful for that and then giving back really good quality content to them. Like that's the thing. If you
Hmm.
continue to keep giving the way that, you can, people are going to want to work with you more too. Like,
Well, and you have to build your brand. I mean, you need those things to build your brand and
mhm.
expand out. But you also have to set a time limit of, okay, I'm going to dedicate this to this, and then I'm going to get
Yes.
back to like you have upgraded. And it's like a video game. It's always like a video game of you level up, and you have to. And I've always said that's the coolest thing about woodworking is like you can start with a hammer and a chisel or whatever it
Sure
is and a
can.
drill. You can make this. You sell it, you level up, you get the next tool, you go forth and level up. And it is such a video game and that's with making and selling or just making in general. And then for your brand as your company or whatever, it's the same thing. But if you go on your side quest and you get lost on your side quest the whole way, you can get stuck in the
You
weeds,
can.
lost in the
You
weeds.
can
Yeah.
completely. Like if I wasn't just very aware of where I was going and making sure that I'm pulling myself back in to pivot now, I could definitely have just become this just character. Like that's why I feel like I could be like this character on
Yep.
Instagram. Like
Yep.
I don't want to do that. I actually want to be like a serious business person. I do want to be a character still. Like I do want to
Yep.
be
Oh
this
yeah, you gotta be
complete
yourself. Yeah.
goofball because that's who I am.
Yeah.
But I want to be hyper focused too on making sure that now this year I'm bringing in profit.
Hmm.
Like this year I need to make the money, This was all about building this year. Next year is like I need some reward. So like I'm very, very much aware of that. And like now I'm shifting gears and kind of like how you now are you bringing on these more adventures and you must have like first of all great time management with no, I was saying with collecting yourself from all these pockets. How do you manage everything? And then what made you bring on now with Stone Coat? Like, because that's another thing onto your plate. Did you have to pull some stuff off?
So it's more of so time management. It's not that I'm terrible. I think that I'm really good at compartmentalizing of like this needs this needs this. I don't write anything down ever. I've always sort of been that way. So my
I
brain just
understand
puts
that.
this here.
No, I'm very
Uh,
similar.
yeah, and you kind of have to be. It's sort of you have to set stuff because like when you compartmentalize, you're saying, okay, I'm in this brand mode, I'm in this brand mode, I'm doing this, I'm this, and you're a different person for there, and you have to be able to separate. Like if you have a bias with somebody in one space, like you can't
Hmm.
have it over there. I mean, it can sort of influence you,
It
but
has
like
to disappear. Yeah.
and you sort of have to do that. But as far as like with bringing on these new things, you like making things more efficient is the best way to do it. You get things running. You can't take everything on at once, but like, okay, this one, I have this system in place. I have these people that are doing these things and like in social media, people submitting stuff, wall control,
Hmm.
like there is people tagging stuff all the time. So like we have plenty of content there. We've built that ambassador and affiliate group up. And so then we can add the next one. And so like, I know how much time it's going to take during the day. And the TV show is another thing. So like, that's going to be an interesting challenge this year because we're going 10 days at a time, 3 weeks out of the year, or three different months out of the year to film
Okay.
the TV show. And so that's a lot of time being away with stuff. And so you have to have things ready to go on autopilot. Well, now, so I'm now the head essentially of Stone Coat Countertops, which is the biggest epoxy company in the world. So
Crazy.
which is, and that's crazy in itself. I consulted for them for a year or so for the parent company and was able to see the different brands. So you have like Moss and Alumilite and whoever else. And so working behind the scenes and Stone Coat was sort of that beast that was there because it's like, you don't realize how big of a company it is. And I didn't realize when I talked to him, but I just said it. They kept saying, "Hey, we think you would be really good for this, like to run one of these brands, like in connections and whatever else, and like vision of stuff." Like I knew all the team from working with them with different projects and different things. And actually, I had worked with them on the TV show too, because we had gotten Stone Coke to come in, do
Oh,
some
very cool.
countertops for
Yeah.
season 2 and flooring. So I met all those that whole crew there. And so like it was a little surprise to them for all of a sudden one day that I'm their boss and I have a team. But like I honestly was sitting there one day and it had been months of them sort of asking like, we want you to come on. And then one day I just said, "Hey, I think I'm ready for this. I wasn't ready before. I kept telling them I don't have the bandwidth. I can, if you want me to come on, you will get subpar Adam. I cannot dedicate this amount of time to you. And I'm not okay with putting my name on that." And then one day I sort of realized that, okay, I like,
You're
where
ready.
kids are with timing, like kids are back at school. There's a real schedule in place. Okay, let's roll. And so like, I mean, I'm working a full-time job with them with multiple employees. I meet with ops teams every day, customer service. Like this is a
That's
legitimate
crazy. Yeah.
job in the industry. And this is
It's kind
all
of like shifting back a little bit to
it
where you
is.
were, you know?
I'm back to corporate and I never want to go back to corporate again. But the difference is that I'm in the community with corporate and the practices and everything that I've like, even working at the bank as a project manager, the mortgage company as a project manager, has shaped this because I had teams that I worked with there. We had projects like I'm doing product launches now with this company where we're
Awesome,
developing
Adam.
products, like all the R&D that goes into it, and then the marketing stuff that goes out. Like we have a line that's coming out where I sat down and I named the different like it's me naming the names of the products and the colors and whatever
That's
there.
so fun.
But it's a real difference of what I was doing. But it's my end game, and a lot of people don't see this, but my end game has always been the longevity in the industry. And I talked about this before. Like there's a you can expire essentially. Like people don't care what you're doing. Like you can make the coolest table or whatever in the world, but like there's going to be trends and ups and downs, and no matter what your skill set is, like the only way to stay pertinent in the industry is on the business side of it also, unfortunately. And like it's funny every time that somebody messages as an account that I'm on and they're like, "Oh, this is Adam, isn't it?" And or like this here, like you're everywhere. But like that's how I've sort of seen myself to be able to like, how am I going to make this a career? And the career is to be on the business side of it. And that's sort of my end game. And this is like, I think this is like the apex of the end game. I tried to do a consulting company. COVID hit. And then brands didn't want to work with anybody. So that was like, okay, this is
Yeah.
not the route to go. Like everything's changed. So I sort of pivoted from that. I still consulted with people, but like that was going to be my sort of end game, is to like connect people with brands and then brands with people and so forth. And there's other people that have tried that, and it's really tough to do because
Yeah.
it just is. But like, I mean, I'm with all these brands, and the people have to essentially come through me. It's not a power trip. It's not anything else, but like these companies aren't going anywhere, and I'm going to be a part of helping them grow and then connecting them to the community. And
Yeah.
that's always going to be needed. No matter how old I am, no matter how much I'm working, like I got injured on the TV show.
Oh man, I ever saw that table
And,
saw.
and that was just a freak accident. That could have happened to anybody. But if I was relying on making stuff constantly with people, for people for an income, like I wasn't able to use my hand for months, basically. Like it's still like maybe 80, 90%, whatever. Like I don't have the grip strength that I did have with it before, but I couldn't do that if I was like, I would be in trouble. Same thing like losing like reposting. Like it's the same thing. Like any little thing can take you out at any
Oh yeah.
certain period of time. And so like, again, being behind the computer, being at the desk, being on the phone, whatever, and still being involved in the industry, this allows me to do it at any point, any time.
Yeah. And like you could still do lazy guy DIY
Yeah.
when you need that, when you need to fulfill yourself or get yourself something new, or to get to a new relationship with a brand new brand that you
Mhm.
have to work with. No, I'm with you where I like to have myself kind of spread out a little bit too. Like
Mhm.
I know I physically am not going to be able to carve my whole life. Like if I'm carving when I'm older, great. But I can't guarantee that my hands and
Mhm.
stuff. Like when
Yeah.
I quit my corporate job, I was suffering from really bad pain in my hands from constantly, I was like copy paste, type,
Hmm.
type, type. I had like a legit, just straight up database building job. Like it was
Yep.
awful. It started as an art job and then switched to that. And I literally was like, I'm never going to be able to use my hands if I stay
Yeah.
here and keep doing this. So I'm like, and I'm an artist. I'm like, I'm not losing my ability to use my
Yep.
hands. So like I made that leap, but then knowing like I still have to retain some kind of consistent income and stuff, like if I'm gonna like quit my job and make this a career. So that's why I was very persistent on getting Workbench Con and Saburrtooth both
Hmm.
together as my jobs, because I couldn't just have one. I'm
Yep.
like, I need two. Like I can't just be on with one person, because if something happens with that one, I need that other thing to catch
Yeah.
me, you know? So it's just important things to kind of like build yourself out here. Like any company can shift gears in a minute and they might not have the budget for you. It's just like art
Yeah.
classes in school, you know, they get canceled first, right?
Hmm.
Marketing is going to go first, sadly, with a lot of things. So it's just like crazy. So you got to just definitely be careful too with that kind of stuff and make sure you are spreading yourself
Yeah.
a little bit too. So,
Well, you got to have the safety nets, because anytime that I get a random phone call for one of the brands that I work with to do stuff with, it's like, oh no, is this the time that they think that we're going to cut this off? And it's never is. They're like, everybody, we have great communication stuff, but you always sort of have that fear, especially if
mhm.
you have a family and you're dependent on it. And
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much at risk, and it's it's scary if you have the ability to have like somebody else in your life that can sort of stand you up and be that. Like my wife's got a great job, and she was able to support me starting out with stuff, and
That's nice.
yeah, so it was a
I didn't have
significant
that. I was the breadwinner. And
it's
I was like, bye, job.
well, it's a significant conversation, like, of
Yeah.
what you're going to do, like if you're going to
Mhm.
leave it. I mean, insurance is such a scary thing. Like if you don't have insurance, and then if
Yeah.
you're paying insurance on yourself, like a lot of people don't think that, like if you're going to leave like your corporate world, like who's going to take that over? And so like when I left the
Mhm.
corporate world, luckily I could jump on my wife's insurance at the time.
Yeah,
um
thankfully for my husband too. Yeah, same thing.
yeah, so I mean, like there's all those factors. It's not as easy as just stepping and saying, I'm going to do this today and I'm going to be an influencer. But
Yeah. No, it's like I'm not gonna lose my mortgage and I'm gonna make sure my kids can have
yeah,
food and
yeah, yeah.
clothing. Like there's essentials I have to make sure that we are providing for. And yeah, there's big leaps. But I like it that you can find your own nook. You can find companies that align with your values too, which is
Hmm.
huge. Like you want to make sure you're working with somebody that you want to work with. Cause
Yep.
I don't know about you at the bank, but at least in my job, I was not happy there
No.
at all. And I was just making some stranger rich who I didn't even know. You know what I mean? Like you're just making a corporation rich. So you want to make sure the people that you're working with deserve your like
Yeah.
the efforts you're putting in.
And I that was actually a big thing with Stonecoat. And it's funny, I talked to him about it. So with the bank, I was dying every day that I was in there.
Hmm.
And the only thing that was the positive of it is like my sarcasm and like hate fuel was so much higher back then in like my
Yeah.
content. And it sort of defined like the personality in my content at the time, because I was just so bitter about
Disgruntled.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, 100%. And so like that's toned down a ton
Adam's
since
so
I left that
happy
world.
now and
Yeah,
relaxed.
I
Who is
mean,
this guy?
that's right. But like with like Stonecoat, the stakes are lower. I mean, it's still a company. You still have jobs and everything
Hmm.
else that are dependent on the decisions that you make. But like, if I screwed up something before working at a bank, somebody lost their house.
Hmm.
Now, like if something goes on here and then their shipping is delayed by a day or something,
Right. You just got
I
to
mean,
fix that, keep them happy.
and that's way different, and it's that comfort level is sort of nice, from what it was before. Like, and I understand, like I know all the people I work with and what they're doing, what their roles are, and everybody has those similar values and stuff. So like there's a great backstory on each of the companies of where they came from,
That's
and
great.
how it was created. And it's so like so Mitch Quist is like basically the face of Stoneco right now. It's a company he started with his brother, and his brother ended up leaving, and so Mitch is the one that when the company was acquired by the parent company. And so uh Mitch Quist stayed on. He's on every YouTube video for Stonecoat, and like he's the
He
face
is
of it.
stone coat. Yeah.
But I'm his boss. So it's a weird, it's sort of weird where, hey, I could basically dictate anything if I was a jerk and I come in and say, you have to do such and such, and this is what we're going to do, whatever else. But Mitch and I had a conversation when we came in, and I was like, hey, this is a company that you started. You have a vision. This is your reputation. Like, if I do something wrong, it damages what you've built, even though you may not solely own it or anything at this point, but like, you are the face out there. Like, if I screw up, I don't want this to ruin anything that you've worked so hard to build. I don't want the decisions that I make to cheapen or lessen anything that you've wanted to put out there. And Mitch and I have got along great. I think that helps because of it. And I know what he's a content creator. He's a maker.
You know what goes into all that.
And that's made a big difference for them too, because they haven't had anybody in management in the past that has come from a background. I mean, I've been on the job site. I've worked with Mitch on the job site for the TV show too. And like we know how these things go, and it makes all the difference of like the team is firing better than like it ever has before. Like upper management realizes that like people are engaged and they're happy because like they're getting direction. I can bring my expertise in there that I've seen through the years. I can see stuff that's happening, like with Wall Control does this over here with like I meet with Amazon reps. Like we talk like Amazon stuff all the time of like selling Stone Code products over there. Like
that's cool.
There's so much corporate stuff that I'm in. We meet with Google reps for ad spend weekly. We do, like we have a YouTube rep, we have a Pinterest rep. Like this is what I'm doing behind the scenes. And it's nice because in my Home Depot days, when I was doing stuff with them, we would meet with them like once a year through Home Depot, which is great. And like get these behind the scenes stuff. So like I would know some of these things, but now like I can continue to apply that, have legitimate conversations with these companies to like, okay, this is what I've seen, this is what I've done. How can we do it here on this scale? Because I mean, you're talking a enormous scale at this point.
Yeah,
of, like how they do it.
Yeah,
and it's like it just all flows. Like it's like building blocks. Like I keep saying level up, but like
no, it makes sense. I was talking to a few makers like when I was quitting my job and when I got these other jobs, and they were like, we have just been watching you build a foundation of skills for these last few years, and each one of those skills are leveling you up, bringing you to that, next level, and then you're taking those and then you're utilizing them in other ways. It's just life skills that you've obtained, and now you've figured out ways to implement them in your life. And like you were saying, if you build a really good foundation on one company, you can bring that to another one. So it's cool seeing how you've been evolving these last few years.
And then if you want to really throw it off, you throw a TV show in there because
that takes up your time.
Like it's not just taking up time, but it's like it is like that's a good outlet for me, also for a creative outlet, because and it's intense. I mean, you're talking 16-hour days, if not longer, 10 days straight, not necessarily the best places to sleep.
I'd say in the wilderness.
Yeah. I mean, you're staying like in Nebraska, we stayed in hotel over bar, like it didn't even have a name. There's like 3 of us stuck in a room, one bathroom that barely worked, and like 148 people that live in this town. We can call it a town, and you're like 2 hours from the next, like it was like 3 to 4 hours from like Lowe's. So like if you needed to get something from a main hardware store, you're talking an 8-hour trip because you forgot screws or something. So like logistically that's figured out a little better, but like still I thought I had everything set up like how I wanted to do things with these brands, with me as a maker and whatever. And then the TV show came along and derailed that. And how do you say no to a TV show? Right. And I honestly, the week before I'd gotten reached out to by them, I said to my buddy, I never want to do TV. Like, it's just like, it's not something that I want to do. Like I have no aspirations. I've never want to go for it. Like I know sort of what the schedule is like with stuff. And this one is even crazier because we do everything. Like you have some shows.
Yeah. It's a grueling show you guys are on.
Well, it's just intense. Us. What you see is what you get that's on there and doing all the work. We don't have a crew that comes in behind us. So it's not just on camera. And there's a lot of people that do that where you do your stuff on camera and then you have 15 to 20 people to do everything behind you. No, we've got like maybe 10 to 20 people at a time you see them on camera. They're the ones doing all the work, and it's 10 days and that's it. I mean, it's, if you don't get it, you don't get it there. And there's been some very high things and very low things. Like, I mean, me injuring my hand, at that point, we were already down 2 people in the crew. We were 3 days in. Rob from Ginger Woodworks and I had knocked out an amazing kitchen. Like, we're doing shiplaps on the walls, and the walls are all different angles and everything else. Like, one corner was 38 different cuts that had to go through. They're all custom because nothing's straight in these old houses and stuff. And so we were doing trim on one thing, and so I was using the table saw. And I hope they have it on camera. I think they do. I was like, let's go do a sketchy cut. And I walked out the door with Rob to go do it. We had all of our safety gear on. He's there holding like a feather board, and I'm pushing through with the push stick, and the push stick snapped while I'm pushing it and went into the saw blade. And it was just
crazy.
It was just a freak accident. It didn't have to do with the brand. It didn't have to do with anything else. It's something that I should have, maybe it's been like that thing was like stepped on or packed, because it gets used and abused on a job site. And it just went. And I remember watching it all happen. Like, everybody says it slows down, and I could see it going, and I was like, oh no. And then it exploded. It went through my hand. Shrapnel like went everywhere. Literally blood came back. I'm blood splattered. Rob had stuff hit him. And then immediately, like, my hand flew back at me, and I went here like this. And the first thing I was like, oh God, let's look at my hand. Do I have all my fingers? Because I knew it hurt really bad. And so I looked down at it, and I saw I had all my fingers. So that was good. And then all the blood started coming out at that point. And I was like, okay. And so I didn't panic or anything. I just went, we have an on-set producer, and he was talking to the VP of product development of the saw. And like, he had just arrived not 15 minutes before, and they saw it happen, and I'm coming over, and just blood is pouring out everywhere. And so then we rushed me to the hospital after they had to film everything of like, what happened to you, Adam? What's this? Do you want to take this off? Like, this giant bandage that you have on your hand that's soaking through right now. I said, oh no, I'm like, and I'm probably going into shock at this point too, of like what happened. And I don't know what sort of use of my hand I'm going to have at this point, because it went right through between my thumb and my pointer finger, and just went right through the skin right there into it. And I don't know if there's nerve damage or anything, but things seem to be moving. And so they're like, well, we have to get stuff for the TV show. And then when we plugged into emergency room, we're in Pennsylvania at the time. We end up in Ohio. We didn't even know we were in Ohio when we got to the hospital. Wow. And so, the first thing we were like, table saw injury. And they're like, well, do you have all your fingers? Yeah, we've got it. And so they were great. They did everything there. Everything was recorded of me getting stitches and everything else, and just sitting there, still blood splattered all over me. And then I was back on set within 2 hours of it all. Like, we drove back, but I couldn't do anything.
Yeah, exactly.
I've got my arm in a sling, my hand up there, and like, and they told me they're like, go home. They're like, and I was like, no, there's like things that I can do here. And so that was 2-3 days into it, of a 10-day thing. So I stayed the whole rest of the time. And the terrible thing about it is that you want to try to keep a wound clean.
That's what I was thinking.
Job site.
Yeah.
Where you don't have running water, you don't have you're talking nasty stuff out there. So that was a real concern. And it was a conversation with my family as well, what you can do. But like, I'm fairly ambidextrous. So like, I could do a lot of stuff left-handed, like install cabinets and do all these different things. So like, I tried to help as much as I could, but like, there was times where my hand would swell up so bad that I'd have to sit like for an hour at a time, icing it up. And I did so much more damage to it than I probably should have.
I'd say I would have went home. I'd be like, bye guys. See you later.
But I couldn't do it. Like, I was like, I have to stay and do it and see this through. And because you don't want to let people down, because we've sort of built like that brotherhood with the people in the show, because all the hard stuff we're doing.
Oh yeah.
And it's just, but it took much longer for me to heal, because I stayed and I kept opening it up, and yeah, so
Oh, men. Sorry, had to.
stubborn. Yeah, I was stubborn about it. So
Yeah. No, that's crazy. I couldn't even imagine getting injured on a set like that. And then, yeah, like you said, not having the appropriate ways to care for it too
yep.
there. Like, what an adventure. You're not gonna forget that ever. You know what I mean? Like, and then I can't even imagine Rob, like his processing of what just happened too, as being the person right there watching it and also getting some impact. Like he had to go
Well,
through things mentally too.
and he did. He's talked about it plenty with me, but like they had to like shut everything down, clean up all the blood that was
Mm.
everywhere on set, because we were in like on a concrete slab in a little garage where it happened, and like all the material was there too.
Oh,
So like
jeez. Yeah. So
they had to toss
everything.
some of that stuff, but like there were people that didn't want to, like you could tell that they were hesitant because you got to get back. There's such a time frame of like what you can do there that you can't stop. And so Kevin, who is our GC on the show, who's amazing, he's like, it happened. Like, you know, that he was safe. It was a freak accident with
Mm-hmm.
something. Like, you got to go. And if you
Yeah.
don't
You got to
want
move
to,
on.
yeah, if you don't think that you can go on, we'll find something else for you. But like, you got to get right on the table saw that's covered with blood that's been washed off, and then get back to work and do it. And they did it. And that should all be on the show too, which will be interesting. Um, so,
When
but
does that air? You don't know yet, or
so the new season should kick off, I would assume, end of February. That's what happened with season one.
okay.
Um,
So soon you might be able to see this all
yeah,
unravel.
and this will be the third. This will be the third build, so this will be closer towards the summer, as because there's 10 episodes that run out,
Okay.
and so, but we'll start filming again for season three in probably March. So back to
Coming.
it.
It's
Yeah.
coming. Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing like everything that you're involved in. I can't wait to talk to you more as we continue to build our
Mhm.
relationship and just kind of see the avenues that you go through because yeah, you are the guy that is behind a lot of accounts and you've also been setting the path for a lot of us that we could follow and we can learn from you like of how to do that and how to navigate that area, which I think is important because when I started this there was like you, me, the guy from Tools Today and like
Yeah,
a couple, maybe a couple other, and now I'm seeing
yeah,
more and more people come on with other brands.
it's
And like
great.
you said, it does make sense. Like we are the perfect people to be running those accounts. They need to know people who know how to work with, you know, influencers and how that life is and what it takes to build
Mhm.
a video, like just the amount of work it is just to put one together and kind of relay that to people because they think it's so easy for us all. It's so much work.
It's crazy, and again, it goes back to you have to create those relationships too, either if it's
Mm-hmm.
digital or if it's in person, like a Workbench Con. Like that's where you sort of find your core people that can help bring you along with stuff,
Yeah.
and you put your face to a name. And like if you're not willing to invest in those steps, like people are like, I don't want to spend this on this and whatever else. But if you're not
Yeah.
willing to invest, everybody sees that.
Yeah, no, exactly. If you're just kind of stepping your foot in it, not ready to
Mhm.
dive in. And then you see the people that continue to keep going back to things like Workbench Con.
Yep.
They're continuing to at least be there. Like maybe they're not going to all the classes, but they know how important it is
Yep.
to be in those rooms. And I think that that's important things. Like networking is huge. And why would you not go to a place where everybody's going to be that you want to be involved with?
Yeah.
It just makes sense. But
Yep. I couldn't agree more.
yeah, it's hard. It's hard. It costs a lot. I know that. I get to go because I work there. You know what I mean?
Well, and there's a way to do it. Like figure out a way that you can go that you can get
Mm-hmm.
it paid for you, and that's what it's been. If you're with a brand will send you there. If you teach a class, there's ways to get there to make
Yeah.
your trip teacher. And you can't just throw it all together. You
No,
have to
it's
put some
gotta
thought
be a
behind it.
good.
It's got to be good. And I've taught
Yeah.
several classes. I've had good response to it, but like that was. Other than the fact that I want to share stuff with people, it also gave me an opportunity to go to that venue
Mm-hmm.
where it would have
Yeah.
to, where it would cost me more. And there's only so many slots. So like you have to make sure that you put your A game together to do it.
Right. That you're actually watching for those posts when those announcements are going to be
Mhm.
made. And then yeah, we get so many people who jump in like a month or two and try to pitch a
Yeah.
class. And I'm like, we have a schedule like
Yeah.
written out already. Like,
Yep.
there's no joke. I'm not being a dick. I'm not trying to keep you out, but like, all these people worked really hard. They gave all their materials to us and they're ready to rock. Like,
Yep.
you can't just jump in on this. But all right, my alarm has gone off. I must head out to go get the kids. But you have a great day. It was nice talking with you.
Good talking to you as well.
Bye.
Bye.
I hope you enjoyed getting to know Adam. He is seriously so inspirational to me. I definitely have watched what he's done over the years and learned from that and then applied it in my own way. So I just, again, want to thank him for all the stuff that he's done for all of us makers out there. If you want to help support the show, please consider shopping my affiliate links, especially Carhartt. I know I say it all the time, but they are generous with their kickback and it helps support me. And if you are pondering going to Workbench, maybe we've inspired you in our talk, but we really honestly do believe everything that we said there. You can use my code NIGHTCARVER to save $50 on your purchase. Thank you again so much for listening, and I hope to see a bunch of you in about 2-ish weeks. It's kind of crazy. We're now at that point where I think it's 19 days away. So anyways, I thank you again for listening and have a great day.